Welcome to Tenacity with Sonia C, the podcast for founders, entrepreneurs, dreamers, and leaders navigating the journey of growth. In each episode, we get into the setbacks, the rebuilds, the pivots, and the lessons learned along the way. These are honest conversations with leaders who face challenges head on and found success in business and in life. I'm your host, Sonia, and let's get started. My guest today is Liana Savo. Liana is the founder of Savo Ventures, a New York-based firm operating at the intersection of venture capital, legal readiness, fundraising infrastructure, and strategic public relations. Her firm focuses on early-stage, female-led tech companies from pre-seed through Series A, investing capital while helping founders prepare for due diligence, structure their fundraising process, and position themselves in the market. Before building Savo Ventures, Liana spent years working inside the mechanics of startup visibility and investor access. She saw a pattern. Strong companies were losing deals not because the technology was weak, but because the company wasn't positioned, organized, or visible in the right way when investors evaluated them. Her work focuses on closing the gap that leaves women founders receiving roughly 2% of venture capital while addressing the operational realities that shape how investors make decisions. Today, we're going to talk about what actually kills startup deals, why traditional venture processes fail many founders, and why positioning, preparation shape who gets funded. Hi, Liana. How are you? Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Sonia.
Oh my gosh, yes, of course. I always love having tech guests on or women so we can just talk about all the stuff that's going on in the world and in business. So I'm really excited to get into this conversation with you.
Yeah, same here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Well, everyone already knows everything about you, what you do, who you are, because I did a bio beforehand. So let's get right into it. And I'm going to start with my first question. You have said that the best product doesn't win, the best positioned product wins. What does positioning actually look like when a founder is preparing to raise capital?
That's a great question. And anytime I invest into startups, I always say that I invest into you as a person and everything else follows. So you need to position yourself as the founder, your story, make sure that it creates an emotional connection with the audience, with investors, so that we feel a sort of, you know, and a level of emotions that you can invoke in us, right? And so positioning is very important. And how you position yourself is through storytelling. And
Mm-hmm.
it's important to know that if you can, evoke those type of emotions that I said, you know what, I will do anything to invest into that investor because, I mean, that founder, because as an investor, I know that anything that that founder comes up with will be such an amazing investment on my end because I'm investing into that person and the way they have positioned themselves. So yeah, I think, what I've done and I'm disrupting the industry is I am bridging the gap between VC and PR. And so that in order for you to get more capital, you need to make sure you are credible, you're positioned, and you can get that funding that you're looking for.
I always find that like VCs, they sort of like obviously they invest on the founder, but then I always find that like especially in tech, there are a lot of tech founders who have gotten kicked out of their own companies because so is that because like they couldn't run the company or because they didn't have that alignment with the investor that had invested in the company?
Yeah, it's all about the tenacity, the perseverance, the grit. I feel that if you don't have that, eventually, I mean, who can lead the company? Someone that has full of energy, someone that has a lot of ideas, and someone that can take pressure, right? A lot of
Mm,
pressure. And so if we feel that, you can't run the company with the pressure and the grit and the mentality that we're looking for, well, that's when we feel like you're not a good fit. Absolutely. And it happened multiple times where I would not believe in the person themselves, but my partner believed in it. And I would come out and say, like, you see what happens, like we will run into more problems later on because they don't have what it takes. It's a great
mm.
product, but the person itself doesn't have the strength to actually run a company.
What would be like your ratio for really good products, really good idea great founder, not so great, where you'd be like, not so great, but great idea, I'll invest. Great founder, maybe not such great idea, and I'll invest. Like, where do you sort of meet halfway? Or do you?
Honestly, I don't anymore. I'm super like adamant about that. If I do not believe you as a founder and I can trust you that you can do this, then I'm not investing. I need to know that I can work with you because at the end of the day, I'm looking for a partner. I'm not looking to just give my money to someone and then, does whatever they want with it. I need somebody who can actually delegate, knows how to work with me. Has to be super personable as well.
Do you ever look for someone that's going to be teachable? Because, like, let's face it, sometimes founders are inventors and they've never run companies. They actually don't know how to be a CEO. So, are you willing as an investor to, maybe mentor them into how to run a company or become a CEO? Like, what do you think about that process?
And that's exactly what we do. Are you coachable, right? So when we work together, we have a prerequisite. The prerequisite is we'll give you the money, but you need to make sure that are you going to invest that money into PR? And the PR
Mm,
aspect comes from coaching you through how to tell your story, how to present yourself on TV, how to, position yourself. That's all tactics that you need to learn in order to showcase yourself, right? And so
hmm.
that for me is like right away red flag if someone says, "Oh, well, I'm not looking for PR. I thought you are a VC firm. You just can give us the money because we have a great idea." I said, "Well, there's a lot of other VC firms. I hold your hand. I want to hold your hand through a process. I'm super like I love working with the companies in my portfolio, very close. I just know that I'm not someone that just wants to give money and says, "Well, you do what you think is right." I have to make sure I need to hold your hand through the process.
You've seen deals die from the investor side of the table. What is the most common reason a promising startup loses a deal late in the process?
They stopped working. They stopped attracting that awareness. They stopped positioning themselves. They stopped telling their story. Look, Sonia, at the end of the day, it's all about your story. It really truly is.
Mm,
I feel like if you cannot be like thrilled about why you started this, why this really matters to you, like really treat it as something you've birthed, right? Like a
hmm.
baby. Like you need to literally talk about it on that type of level that you will, kill anyone for this. I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't work out. Like you need to be super passionate. If I don't feel that there's passion, and I've seen this over and over again, where they would just be super comfortable, like, oh, everything is going great. We got our investors investing in us, but they're not really taking action. They're still not hustling. There's no grit. Then you can see they became too comfortable because they got so much money. And now what, right? Money
Mm.
likes energy, like flow. You can't just leave it, right? And so once you have that flow, that in itself creates more momentum.
And how do you assess that? Is it on the founder's personality when they're in front of you having meetings with you, or is it in the numbers, or is it both? How do you assess that?
Yeah, sometimes numbers can be amazing, but I don't, I watch a lot of Shark Tank, and I have to say, like a lot of times they would say, look, you grew, for example, you had a silver spoon, you grew up with a silver spoon, right? So, like, you don't know what it is to hustle and to really go after that American dream. For me, it's the same concept. And so I learned a lot from Shark Tank. I know right off the bat, like, who do I want to work with? Numbers can be great, but if I see that I will clash with that founder on many levels, I rather not invest. I really don't care about those numbers. I'd rather have low numbers, but I know that you're hungry and you want to, and you're very ambitious. So for me, it's not about the numbers, it's about the vision and can I scale your vision as a founder?
Yeah, what happens if you invest in a founder and at the start they're right where you need them to be, but then they sort of start, maybe derailing from that a little bit, or they become burnt out, or they're just not as enthusiastic as they used to be. How do you deal with that situation?
Yeah, it goes back to coaching them. So we have a whole process when they agree to work with us and we invest in them. They agree that we have a 2-year contract, basically agreement of creating this type of visibility for them and the credibility, and that stems from coaching, media training. So if they feel like their little spark is dying out, well, we're gonna have to bring them back on and see what's going on. How can we help? What, is there something on my end that I'm doing? Perhaps that I can work on myself and help you. Or can I bring someone else on board and on this team so I can help, propel them forward even more so? So I have to see, what is going on. So if that's the case, then we have to include more mentors. And
Mhm.
like, business coaches, business mentors along the way. We have a life coach as well on our team. There's a lot that goes on. And so if that's the case, we have a whole team that we bring on to get them out of that moment where they feel like maybe they're not good enough, maybe
Yeah.
that, this is not how they, it happens, that's such is life. We have our ups and downs, and no one is perfect. And we need to also provide that therapy.
You built Zavo Ventures as a hybrid model combining capital, legal readiness, fundraising, operations, and PR. What problem were you trying to solve that the traditional venture model ignores?
Yeah, the PR side of things. The traditional venture model does not give them that PR support, and 90% of founders fail in the first year because of those, blind spots, right? The legal blind spots, which I saw happening, and I said, okay, well, let me include my legal team that I work with so they can help them avoid those legal blind spots. The fundraising team, where they say, okay, well, you have fundraising now. So I want them to come and have this all under one, I would say under one umbrella. But the most important thing is that the PR, so they can get tiers, right? Whether they be interested just in the legal tier, whether it's just in the fundraising tier, or whether they want all three tiers, right? And so again, PR is so crucial, and that's something that we need to really educate our founders on. And a lot of them don't understand the significance it plays on startups.
Let's talk about PR a little bit. I mean, I know what it is. I understand the importance of it. But like you, I have spoken to many founders who don't do any PR, don't understand what it is, what it does, or the importance of it. So can you just talk to us a little bit about why it's so important for founders at the early stages or as they're growing to really think about PR and what PR can do for them?
Absolutely. Love this question. So, PR can do a lot. PR is definitely an underdog in if you look at it from the promotional side of things, there is marketing, advertising, and PR. We say that if you want to gain trust and credibility, and if you want people to hear your name and say, well, I can trust them, that's PR. If you want to advertise your name, there is no trust factor in there. And that's what I need to educate founders on. Well, are you looking for trust factor? Are you looking just to gain visibility? Because you can get visibility, but there is no trust. Because say that you're on a billboard, or say that you put a lot of money into meta ads. But when people are Googling you, they want to know who's speaking about you. So you can definitely
Mm,
do the advertising, but then you're taking away from that trust factor. Well, no one is talking about them. I don't know where my money is going, right? Because people know you pay for meta ads, and all that, sponsorships. But the thing, what you can't pay for is getting yourself into top tier publication, into getting that trust with a journalist. When it comes to PR, we know the journalists, we know the Rolodex, what is buzzworthy, we know what's going to work, what's not going to work in the media. And so it's important to know to get into PR from the very beginning, because once already the journalists get to know who you are on a personal level and your story spark something and they want to write about you, that's when you know you're going to attract investors. That's when you know you're going to gain that trust. And so what does PR create? PR creates the trust factor that none of the others do create, right? So we
mm,
want to make sure that you are consistent with your story, you're consistent with your message, you are building a value proposition. So that a lot of times when you're not speaking about what you do and you say, oh, well, marketing will take care of it or advertising will take care of it. How do we know how you sound? Are you even on video? Are you speaking about your ups and downs when you built this? Did you document your journey when you started building this startup? So all of that, it adds to the PR side of things because we want to know like how did you start, your grit, your perseverance. And so it all plays a big role because a lot of founders are just too lazy to get in front of the camera to speak. Even though right now with Sony with AI, I'm not sure if you've seen it, but there's a lot of AI influencers and a lot of AI avatars and twins that are created.
Mm-hmm.
My company has created one for me as well, where basically, it looks exactly like me, but I'm not speaking in front of a camera. It looks like I'm speaking at a podcast studio, but it's all done through AI. And so that is a great way of saving time. That is a great way if you want to look into that, that can really propel them forward and say, well, I don't have time to do my hair, my makeup, to get in front of the camera and to really spend so much money on actually getting my message out there. So they should look into the AI twins. They should look into AI avatars. That really is going to save them a lot of money and time.
Many founders believe the process is simply pitching to as many VCs as possible. I actually spoke to someone the other day and they were like, if you're going to land two or one VC, you need to pitch at least 100 times. So why is the pitch 100 investors and hope strategy fundamentally flawed?
The way I operate is different. That's why I'm bringing this new perspective to the VC world.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to pitch me 100 times. I am all ears, maybe because I am not the traditional type of VC. I don't look like a traditional VC. The traditional VC is probably someone who's a man, it's dominated by men,
Yeah.
and someone that is not a minority. I'm a minority. And so, you know, I, I would say that if you are creating this type of, if you're pitching, you need to do your homework. And if you're a woman, pitch to someone who's a woman, pitch to someone who you can relate to. So, you need to understand that not all VCs are going to help you with what you're looking for. So maybe
Mm,
change the trajectory of how you do business or change the trajectory of how you're pitching because if you're going to pitch to someone that's not helping you in your area of expertise, then you're wasting your time. So I would say pitch, if you're a woman, pitch to those that are led by women because we will understand that it's more relatability there and we can resonate more with you. So yeah, you should definitely do your homework and don't waste your time pitching so many VC firms, really.
yeah.
I think that it does take a lot, but I think that if you can do angel investors first, which is great, and then get into VCs just to get an idea, because VCs, even though I don't operate as a VC, even though I am, I'm just very much more like welcoming. Hey, I'm here to help. Let me hear your
Yeah.
story because I come from a PR background, so
Yeah.
I don't have that snob mentality.
No, you definitely have a good twist on it. But I love the one point that you made, and I'm just gonna iterate just to make sure that I got it right. So a lot of founders are like, find 100 VCs and pitch to 100 VCs and hope you're gonna land one or two. But what you're saying is be particular about the VCs that you're going to pitch to. Do your homework and make sure that the VC that you're going to pitch to sort of aligns with who you are, with your company's vision, mission. And then if you're aligned with the VC that you're going to pitch to, your chances are probably going to be better because there might be like some synergies and you might feel aligned or a connection with that VC, right?
Right, 100%. Exactly. And it's you have the right. You need to come from a different mindset. Like they're not choosing you. You're choosing the VCs.
Mm,
You want to make sure that they're a good fit. So if you come from that other mindset of like abundance, like I have what it takes, obviously we make money on these startups, right? So
yeah.
we need you as well. So
Yeah.
without these startups, we can run these VC firms. So come with that mindset that they need you, and it's a two-way street. So it's not
Yeah.
one way. Yeah.
Yeah. So you talk about legal readiness as one of the most overlooked parts of fundraising. What legal or structural mistakes quietly kill deals before founders even realize it?
Not an attorney, but from what I've seen is that, a lot of times, a lot of the agreements will be drafted by ChatGPT. And, they would save money on getting an attorney. And so that in itself, I think, will protect and help you avoid all the legal blind spots because even though chat is amazing in all ways, and I use it on a daily, uh, but you need to have a team that has dealt with it before and make sure that they can help you answer your questions. They can coach you through it and mentor you through it. So the ones that we work with, they have like office hours. They can, really propel you forward. So you want to have someone to hold your hand there as well and not just rely on, oh, well, we have AI now, which is great, but you definitely want someone to be there to help you and comment and throughout the way and just like hold your hand.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I love AI just like you. I use chat on a daily basis, but I do think people are not using it properly in all aspects. It's meant to be a tool to help you, but you can't just feed it something and take what it gives you right away. You have to really know how to use it and prompt it properly. So I can totally see your point there. So let's move on to another point. PR is not treated as part of fundraising strategy. And I'm a big believer in PR, and that's why I wanted to have you as my guest. I think that there's a lot of value in it. I don't think enough people know about it. So I want this to be an opportunity to like really educate people on understanding the importance of PR, especially for startups. So why do investors actually pay attention to a founder's media presence?
Because they see that you take your startup seriously. You want
Mm,
that if you're investing in your name and your product, then I know that you first of all, you care about what you have built. You are looking to have serious conversations because when you have someone validating your story, right? Someone wants to write about you. It's called validation. I've been validated by a third-party media partner such as Fox News, Forbes, NBC, whatever the case might be, TechCrunch that we feature a lot of our startups in. And so that in itself will show that, well, they're serious and we want to
mhm.
invest into serious brands. For me, I invest into a personal brand. I want to know what can I do with you on a personal level because when you have a strong personal brand, that is when you can sell anything under your personal brand. Tomorrow you'll start another product line, whatever the case might be. I know that I can take your story, your personal brand and run with it. So that is what PR is. PR is, can you create a strong personal brand so that when you can pitch your personal brand to journalists and will they bite on that, right? And so again, it's important to understand that if you are taking yourself seriously, you need to create a strong name for yourself so that I can say, well, they are investing in themselves and why can't I invest in them? So for me, I'll just have a better understanding and I know that I can invest in them seriously because they're taking themselves seriously.
So you and I right now we're talking about PR, the importance of PR. So let's get some actions from you. So for founders who don't know anything about PR, let's talk about how can they get started. Let's say they don't have a PR firm yet. That's probably one of the first steps. But tell me, what is the first thing that a founder should start looking at doing to get into PR? And then maybe can you list out maybe like five top things that they need to do now if they're not doing any PR?
Okay, great. Yeah. So first of all, I operate as a fractional PR when I do work with startups, and we also do a
Okay.
sweat equity deal, which means that we can do cash plus equity deal or just a sweat equity deal, or I can come on just as a PR advisor. There's a lot of flexibility with me. If I see
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of potential with a startup, I will offer being, hey, I want to be your PR advisor. Right now, if you feel that you're not ready for PR, and a lot of times, Sonia, they're never gonna be ready because they think that PR is so expensive. But what's really expensive, not doing it because you're gonna be running into more problems later on. And but if right now, if you are doing something for yourself and to expand your personal brand and build it from the ground up, I would say video content. 89% of founders are aligned with video content. And so if I can see your face, hear your voice, talk about your journey of how you started this vision, why you're on this journey, who you're trying to impact. Those little things will make me understand better as to why you do what you do. So video
Mm,
content, posting 3 times a day.
wow.
Posting 3 times a day. And I've started doing that. So before I did not post 3 times a day. I said to myself too, wow, what can I possibly post 3 times a day? Like I'm gonna run out of
Mhm,
content. But guess what? Now with the AI twins and the avatar, what you can do is you prompt it and it's going to speak as if you're speaking. It's you and you're speaking
mm,
about whatever it is. One time I can speak about my divorce. One time I can talk about my son, being 19 years old and how I'm going crazy as a single mom. And I
mhm,
talk about these things because I want to relate to my audience. I don't want them to think that I'm so perfect and I'm so like everything about me, my life is just perfect. It's not. I want to know your the sides that are authentic, super authentic, and the raw. So I want, when you're making these videos, I want you to talk about what it took you to get here, how you feel. Sometimes you might have anxiety, maybe you have those days where you don't feel like getting out of bed, but that's what makes you real, right? And I want you to understand that if you come off in that type of authentic way, I will take you seriously because I know that you don't want to just pretend you're perfect. We're not perfect. No one is perfect. If you think you're perfect, then you have a lot of work to do. So,
yeah.
so I want you to understand that now, if you're starting video content, start posting, LinkedIn engagement, start telling your story, and LinkedIn as well. LinkedIn is so important to really showcase your story, and just posting away of what made you get to this point. Like, why did you start this? Is it because you had a passion? So that personal brand, that storytelling journey is so crucial. And that's how you're going to engage with people organically because they're like,
Hmm.
oh, well, I can relate to this topic. Oh, I've been there. I know exactly what you mean. So, and I got that a lot. So, yeah. And I think that right now, more than ever, if you can start learning AI, even though you think, well, I don't need AI, someone else will do it. Guess what? If you're not learning AI yourself, it's going to be super hard to learn it from someone else because you need to
Yeah.
dedicate your time to learning the ins and outs of how you have to really propel your brand forward because you can't have someone else teaching you. That's going to be super expensive down the line.
So I have a question for you about AI. Like, obviously, my whole career has been in tech. I love it. I embrace it. I think it's fantastic. But when it comes to like authenticity and communication and putting content out there, I find that like in the last year, people, especially on social media, have become a lot more conscious of, is this being generated by AI, etc. So if someone's thinking about creating like an AI persona or running all their content through AI, can that be damaging for them later on? And can that actually go against them being authentic and presenting themselves as their authentic selves? Because an AI is not going to, look at me, I'm talking to you, and sometimes I've sort of messed up my words a little bit because English is not my first language, and that sort of shows who I am as a person. I don't think an AI is going to do that. So, if someone is thinking about doing that, what should they be? Like, are they going to rely on that AI personality? Should they be creating their own? Like, long term, how good or bad is that going to be?
Yeah, long term, Sonia, we can't run away from this. Everyone will have an AI influencer. Everyone will have their own AI clone, and it's happening now. I've created one for myself, as I mentioned before. I know you might think that it comes off not as authentic because it sounds so perfect, but you know what? You can actually make AI mess up a little. You can. You could. So say, oh, that sounds really natural. So what I think that the most important thing is not about the clone itself. It's about really how you resonate with the message, right? And so the message that is, again, the message is created on a very emotional level. So I prompted and say, hey, can you create a 60-second reel about this topic? Make it sound super emotional. And again, the prompts, right? The prompts in itself, but you can't run away from it. We're all going to have to end up doing it because it's cost effective. As I
Yeah.
mentioned, if someone is posting once a week, I'm posting 3 times, 4 times a day. So
Yeah.
me, I'm generating a lot of awareness. And that is why I got like close to 3 million views, and I only had like 80,000 views in the beginning of January. So, and I started
Mm,
understanding, I said, look, I need to do something here. I need to get more awareness. Like I do a lot of PR, which is great, but what about on social media? What can I do? So, before I used to post like twice a week, 3 times a week. I'm like, oh, that's enough. No, it's not. Like I really got into like the nitty gritty. I'm like, how can I 10x my visibility? And 10xing your visibility is to go all in. And to be honest with you, play around with it. I play around with it. Sometimes they're like, oh, that's super AI. I'm like, well, okay. Yeah, I'm not gonna tell you. I'm not gonna deny. Yes, speaking the Rolls Royce. That is a AI, but it looks super. And some people will say, wow, that looks, did you get a new car? I'm like, no, AI. So like you get, you can't please
yeah,
one, but it's a conversation starter. It's like it brings a fresh perspective. It's fun. It's engaging. You need to have fun with it. You can't think like, oh, is that going to diminish my brand? It's not because eventually everyone will be using it and you want to save time and you want to 10x your visibility. And this
yeah,
product lines, like if you're not learning how to for me, I'm not into the product itself, like physical product, I'm more into the tech side of things. But especially for like product lines, it's incredible what it can do for you. I've been seeing.
yeah. So your mission is to challenge the statistic that only about 2% of venture capital goes to women founders. What structural barriers still exist in venture that most people outside of the ecosystem don't see?
Oh, well, I see a lot of those things. Not to sound sexist, but again, a lot of men run these VC firms and they don't want to invest into, female-led tech startups because they feel that we are not going to make the change. We are not going to improve the ecosystem. So what I've been seeing is a lot of them sway from the idea that women startups are actually going to leave a mark or have a purpose. So that is something that we're shifting, and I can see the shift is happening. But it needs a lot of work. It needs a lot of work because, again, it's like we're like second, like second class citizens. It doesn't look pretty, it's not a good feeling, especially when I come up to a lot of investors, among my peers. I get looked down at. Oh, you run a VC firm? Oh, you're an investor? So it's like,
Mm,
man, I need to like, oh yeah, it's like I don't look like a traditional. And so I see what women are dealing with because I deal
hmm.
with it from the VC side of things. So I have to say that step into your role, show up, don't like do your homework. If you don't want to deal with a traditional VC, again, do your homework and get into VCs that are led by women, and those are the ones that are going to help you.
So I have met a lot of women, and they're like, I would rather deal with the male VC because the women are just freaking tough. They're worse than the male VCs. And I'm like, why? Why do you say that? And they're like, every single female that I've tried to pitch to or I've met that is a VC, they're just so hard. They're harder on women than the men are. And I'm like, okay. But then I'm in rooms with women and I'm like, I look and I'm like, I see it sometimes. So how do you like go into a room full of women thinking that you're not going to run the same risk as if you were in a room full of men? Do men have sometimes a little more empathy towards women that are trying to pitch?
Sometimes,
I have to bring that up.
yeah, sometimes I see that. I was in a room actually. She was leading the fund, and she's the founder of her. And she was a bit of a snob, but again, like, you can't say all women, right?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Or all men. I say that the women that I've encountered myself with have been more understanding. I mean, men too, but it's a hit or miss. It really is a hit or miss. Um, Sometimes women can be tougher, sometimes how it is in the corporate ladder, in the corporate, they would be super catty. Even though I've never worked a 9 to 5, I wouldn't know, but I hear a lot because I help women get from the 9 to 5 and build their personal brands. Yeah, a lot of women they do get a lot of backlash from other women. So I would say again, go to someone that perhaps has something that you resonate with. Maybe she's a
Mm,
minority. Maybe she has a story that resonates with you. And you can say, hey, I really feel like we resonate on this level,
mm-hmm.
something. So that's why personal brand is so important because you're like, okay, well, I resonate with her on here. So I can bring that up as an icebreaker, perhaps.
Yeah.
So I think that it's a hit or miss. It happens. Women, yes, they can be catty, absolutely. But it's, again, do your homework.
Yeah, I like the point that you said, and while you were saying it, I was just sort of thinking, I'm like, I get that because like if I was a med tech startup and I met with a woman who was also in med tech, there would be some commonalities there. So the chances of, us being able to like have some sort of relationship would probably be greater. Same thing with like if I had a fintech company and I'm meeting with a woman in med tech, there's like nothing in common, right? So look for someone that might be in the same industry, which we sort of talked about before, but that's what your comment sort of comes back to that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
look, and then I had one time, I was in a at a conference where I wanted to approach a woman, but her partner was a male, and I was speaking to him, and she
Oh,
just came up and says, "Well, we have to go." I'm like, did she just get like I don't know, did she feel that I'm trying to take him away from her? So it happens, there's a
yeah.
jealousy factor, there's a lot of factors come into play, but I don't take it personally. I'm like, okay. And I just came up to her like, hey, I'm so and so, nice to meet you. And
Yeah.
okay, it happens.
Yeah, no, for
Move
sure.
it along. On to the next. There's,
Move it along.
there's someone else that's going to believe in you, and that's it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. So, when you decided to challenge the way venture and founder support works, what was the highest pressure moment where you had to trust your own model?
My own model comes from the fact that I know that I can help. I would never start a VC firm if I didn't have this PR background. Never, because
Mm,
my whole ideology, it's like I need to come on board to get women get more funding through the ability to tell their stories better, to get them the right resources, to, give them that credibility so that when they do show up, they're like, well, this is what I have. So you can't
hmm
not just fund me. So, I mean, that's what I started betting on. I started betting on my own model, and there are not a lot of VC firms that have this type of approach. And so I'm really proud of myself that, I had this idea 2 years ago where I flew down to Singapore. I was speaking at a business show, and I found two LPs there. I didn't even do the whole fundraising thing. Like, oh, how much was it hard to fundraise? I mean, I'll be honest with you, I got super lucky for my first round that I just like pitched myself to these two LPs and I told them my vision. I'm like, this is what I want to do. And I mean, it took a while to foster the relationship, but that's what happened. So, I guess it's just about understanding your mission, your vision, and how you want to really come and help others, right? Making impact.
You operate between founders, investors, media, and legal strategy. What internal pressure shows up most for you as a leader while managing all those worlds?
I only manage the PR side. Okay. I have my partners in all different categories. It's super important to delegate. I don't have
Mm,
the energy. I do what I'm very good at, and that is what I take on, and that's the PR side. So the pressure comes up in the PR side, I would say, is that, you know, we need a story. We need something that's buzzworthy. Okay, we need to create an angle. What really is going to resonate with the media? We need to position this person, this founder. Every month there is a reason to be positioned even more so. So we're in Women's History Month right now. So I was running a whole campaign for 12 women to be featured on TV. So we do Fox News, Pix 11 News in New York. So we want to push women's narratives out. And so they're
mm,
looking for leaders and leaders who are making an impact. And so my job is to find 12 women in my portfolio, my companies, so that I can push their narrative. Not everyone is a good fit for this. And so the pressure of the timing, media training, how to speak in sound bites, how do I create this strong personal brand? So that, there's a lot of deadlines. I would say that's the pressure that's on me.
Well, we're coming up on time, but before we wrap up, I just have one more question for you. For founders who feel like they're building something real, but keep hearing they're not fundable, what is the first thing they should keep back and evaluate?
Their presence, their online presence. Remember, if you have your online presence, if you have that, that's your leverage. That is your leverage to everything because we know that if you're working on your online presence, that's gold right there because attention is the currency, the new currency. Where attention goes, money flows. So you have to make
Mm,
understand that if you're not generating attention, right, for us, it'll be much harder to work with you. So right now, more than ever, start bringing attention to what you're building, and that in itself will just propel you forward tenfold, and you'll be ahead of every other startup. You'll be, and it doesn't matter how you start. Start small, start messy, start somewhere, but just start. Don't
mm,
procrastinate. Oh, I need to have a perfect, message. Oh,
hair day.
yeah, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Just try to show up because if you're showing up, it's already you doing the work that many others have not been doing. They're afraid to show up. And it's important to really bet on yourself, bet on yourself. If you can bet on yourself and your visibility, then you can see that you'll get that attention. Again, we are in the right now, and it's not going anywhere, especially with AI in the AI revolution. Attention is a new currency. Keep that in mind. Where attention goes, money flows. So if you want investors, you want to be the one that's not going to be overlooked, create that type of online presence. Show up,
Mm,
post, and speak. Talk about why your product is better than anyone else's. Like put yourself on
mm.
a pedestal. Don't be afraid.
So you were talking about personal branding, which I understand, and now you're saying like, talk about your product. So if someone wants to start building a personal brand, but they have a company, how do you like what are the types of things that you should be doing? Like do I think about just my company and am I creating content for just my company? But then what is personal branding? If we can just wrap up with you explaining the difference, I think that's going to be really important.
Yeah, a personal brand is you, person that's speaking. It's personal, right? There's also a professional brand, your company. But remember, personal brand is you and everything else stems from that. Everything else follows. So if you're speaking about something that matters to you, you become a subject matter expert. You become a thought leader. You're not just a leader, but a thought leader. People come to you because you can answer questions because they know that you are an expert in your industry. That is a personal brand because you have created thought leadership, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can speak about a subject and they know that, well, go to Sonia and she will tell you exactly what you need to learn about XYZ. She's known for that, right? So you need to make yourself known for a specific category. And also, a personal brand also is about consistency, how often you show up. Right? It's also about the value proposition. Are you bringing the value and then the authenticity, right? So it's consistency, authenticity, and value proposition. That is your personal brand. It stems on three pillars. So if you can be consistent, if you can be authentic, and you can give value, you're bringing all three together to create a very strong personal brand. And everything else follows. Your products can follow, your company can follow. But for me, and it's always like that, if you follow any of the big names, like I love Gary Vee, um, he has a very strong personal brand, which means that his profile, his company doesn't have as many followers as his own personal page. So that shows that a personal brand will outdo a company 10x because they want to know who's running the company, who is that face, who am I trusting?
Well, Leanna, thank you so much for joining me today. This was very educational. I think people will absolutely eat it up. I hope they do. And thank you for your time and guiding us through the PR journey.
Thank you so much for having me. This was awesome.
I want to thank Leanna for joining me today. Building a company forces you to confront something most founders learn the hard way. The market does not reward effort, it rewards clarity, preparation, and positioning. You can build a strong product and still lose if your story is unclear, your structure is messy, or you're simply not in the right rooms when decisions are made. This is part of the responsibility that comes with leadership. Founders don't just build products, they build systems around the product that allows the businesses to be seen, understood, and trusted. And that work is rarely talked about. If you're building a company right now, take a hard look at the infrastructure around your business, your positioning, your investor readiness, your narrative, and the systems supporting your growth. Then fix the weakest part first. And that's a wrap. Thank you for joining me on this journey of learning and growth. If this episode resonated with you, take a moment to subscribe to the podcast, leave a review, and share it with someone who's building through a challenge right now. You can also connect with us on social media and be part of a community that believes resilience is the real advantage. Remember, growth isn't linear, success isn't guaranteed, and setbacks are part of the process. What matters is how you execute. This is Sonia signing off, but as always, keep chasing your dreams with tenacity.